Hey, Eastern Oregon. Thanks for joining us on AM on EOA Live. How you doing, man?
So our fake hats look so funny in that picture right there.
That what?
Until just now, our fake EOA Live hats.
Oh, dude.
You got I have a fake EOA Live hat. I don't even remember what hat I actually had on that day.
No, I think it was a Rockin' Sons hat, and it's like, yeah,
yeah,
we're not.
They get enough
Yeah,
as it is. It's
that's exactly right. Yeah,
there.
we're not going to give him free advertising on the opening of the show. Yeah, but I see. I don't think anybody even knows until you told them.
What? That it was if you look close, you can tell. You probably can't see on your phone, but
yeah, we need some logo hats.
Yeah,
we do. We're working on
ones
that.
like this, like this right here.
That's right, and
These hats are nice.
And I think we need some camo uniforms too.
I have a camo uniform.
I know. I'm like, it's just.
This is
nice. Are you a hunter, or is that just like a?
This is Champion, man.
Oh, I know, but
this is athletic gear.
Does Champion make hunting gear?
No.
Oh.
No, they make urban athletic gear.
Yeah, so
it used to be like a cheap brand, like back in the days. Champion was like cheap. You could get it
right
at Walmart or whatever. Now, this sweatshirt right here, $70. I mean, Champion's not cheap anymore. It's like top of the line urban athletic gear.
I know, but who ever thought that camo would become like hip? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know if it's hip. I mean, it's probably hip in Eastern
Oregon. Champion is if they're selling $70 sweatshirts, then there's a market for it somewhere.
That's true. I wouldn't have paid $70 for it. I got it for a gift, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like back in the days, Shaquille O'Neal had shoes, right?
He did?
Through Reebok, right?
Yeah.
Through Reebok.
Right.
And then he decided that he wanted to make his shoes affordable for all classes. So he took his brand from Reebok and started selling it at Walmart, and a $120 shoe became a $30 shoe that fast. It's so crazy.
Yeah, but I don't get the whole shoe appeal thing. I mean, I know you're a shoe guy, you're a hat guy. It's your thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So you probably have shoes that are in plastic wrap that you take out every once in a while.
I have a few pairs of those actually. Yeah. and before I got married and had kids, I had a lot of shoes. Like
really?
It was a fetish, yeah. I probably had like 50, 60 pairs. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it's not much different than some guys are really into hunting. They spend their vacation hunting. They, spend money.
They're really into their car. I got a $500 beater. I don't care about the car.
That's right.
I'd much rather have nice shoes.
Well, and I have nice cameras rather than nice cars. So it's like,
you got to sacrifice somewhere.
No, I tell people all the time, it's like, you could take all of my cars and sell them all and not be able to buy some of the cameras that we own. So
that's true. Very true.
Yeah. So, well, hey, if you're out there listening, tell us what you're doing this morning. Catch us up on whether you collect shoes or not. Yeah. So, hey,
I don't think much of our listeners collect shoes. I think the most of our listeners and watchers are like 45 to 65, and that age genre isn't like a huge shoe collecting genre.
Well, and we learned the other day that Jimmy Burgess he graduated from high school same year I did. So we must be close.
Did?
Yeah.
He's that old?
Same year you were born. Same year you were born.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
85.
79. Don't give yourself 6, man. Oh my gosh, you guys graduate.
You guys are old. That's where you were going, dude.
Wow. I caught myself. I already said you were old once.
Yeah, it's all right. So hey, look at that, man. Look at that weather.
Beautiful day in the valley.
Yeah. Wow.
Absolutely.
Man, the wind. Did you get any of that wind last night that was going on?
What time was it at?
Oh, it was 10 o'clock, something like that.
No, I probably had my headset on for the Xbox playing with my son. And I can't hear nothing when I have that thing on.
No, it was awful. I mean, anyhow, well, here's Here's our weather forecast.
So let's see. We warmed up a little bit today. It seems like it. What do you think it is out there right now? It's got to be.
It's a little above. No, I don't think it's freezing.
Really?
I don't know.
Car was frozen. I almost fell on my butt coming out the gate.
Okay,
at my house.
maybe so. I don't know. I got here at 6 this morning, so
wait.
I don't know.
Is he predicting some snow showers today?
So
around noon. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So we're gonna get a little bit of snow today.
Yep.
The humidity's about average for this time of year.
Yep. Gusts up to 30 miles an hour, high in the 30s. All right, and then tomorrow.
It's about the same, a little bit warmer. I mean, a little bit colder in the morning. My bad, not warmer.
Yeah.
And no snow tomorrow, though. It didn't feel like snow today. So I'm challenging our weather kid on that one.
All right. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, though, man. I can't ever get over that. And I hate snow. But that's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, I know you were like totally I mean the other day you came in and you complained about it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, well,
finally the third time it's like, yeah, I heard you, Kyle.
Well, when has snow ever convenienced you?
Well,
it hasn't. All snow does is inconvenience you.
Well, yeah, but I mean if you keep track of the things that inconvenience you, I mean, holy smokes, that'd be a long list. I don't know. I guess I don't spend much time.
Yeah, I don't either. I just know when it comes. It's absolute inconvenience.
So Aaron Johnson, the weather kid's mom, says, trust the weather kid.
It's snowing today for sure.
Well, we'll find out. They have a ton of.
I'm guessing
they live out in Somerville. They've got a ton of snow out there. Yeah.
Out in the country.
Yeah, time to warm up.
Needing to tee it up.
Dana is he's the main dude out at Buffalo Peaks. There's a little plug for you, Dana.
Yeah, yep. And I owe Dana a little butt whooping out there on the golf course because him and Carlito beat my team in the Doug Trice Memorial Tournament this last year by 1 stroke.
Are you a golfer? I mean, is that like a thing for you? Are you a serious golfer?
Yeah, I love golfing. On Dana, and I didn't golf for a long time. Like after I had kids, I mean here and there. But when I was in college, I was an 8 handicap. I was it's like something that pitchers usually do. I mean, it's like the rest of the team's practicing, we're golfing. I only practiced with the team 1 time a week in college as a pitcher. On Fridays.
Oh, because
you're a pitcher. You don't hit. You don't. I mean, how many days a week do you need to practice covering first base?
Well, I know, but
we worked
what
out
about
on
the
our
team
own.
aspect of it?
We got plenty of that. I mean, we all traveled together. We spent a lot of time together. It's just for practice. We threw our bullpens and did our weightlifting and ran, and that's basically a practice for a pitcher.
Yeah.
Oh, he said, "Bring it on." Hey, Dana's good. Dana's got a nice, buttery, silky, smooth swing, man. Really.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, he is a pro, so you would hope it would be a.
That's right. Oh, and he's complimenting you.
Yeah, I'm not bad actually. I mean, I can swing it. I just get in a rush sometimes and try to hit the ball too hard. And it's all about
last
tempo.
time I was, I'm not good enough to. I mean, I play. Yeah, we'll talk about it another time.
So, you play mini golf?
I'm totally, I am good at mini golf. But
we could set one up right here in the studio. Look,
I'm
ready. I got the old putter in here for.
Hey, I'll go with you on mini golf anytime. But but I'm like totally out of my element on a golf course. I end up feeling like a fool about half the time. All right. Well, anyhow. So, hey, we have Terry Hale with us today, and we're going to bring him in. Hey, Terry.
Hey. Hi.
How are you, man?
Good.
Good.
It's a little early for me. I work swing.
It's too early for me, too. Trust me on that.
Yeah. Terry.
You guys should do an afternoon. You guys should do an afternoon program or something. For us.
Yeah, you start cooking about 6 o'clock in the evening, though, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's the prime part of my day.
Yeah.
This is I should.
So
I
for
should
those
be
of
in
you
bed
that don't
sleeping.
know, Terry Hale is the director, main dude at the Elgin Opera House. He's been there for how long, Terry? 10 years, 12 years?
I think in September we'll be going on 15 years.
Holy smokes.
Now, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a long time.
Yeah. And
That's
those of you that did not know the story of the Elgin Opera House, it had set before Terry arrived. It was kind of run down and had set unused for several years. And Terry, his parents lived in Elgin, and he came to visit them. Am I telling the story correctly? And then I'll let you take over here in a second. Yeah. Anyhow, so tell us how you discovered the Elgin Opera House and then how you got involved in that.
Well, my wife and I were living just south of Portland, Oregon at the time, a little town called West Lynn. And my parents lived in the Portland area, and they were retiring. And my aunt and uncle live in Elgin. So they called, we were on vacation, and they called us and said, hey, we're going out to your aunt and uncle's. We're thinking about relocating out there for permanent retirement. And we said, no, you're not going out there. Don't do anything. Don't buy anything. We're on our way. We diverted our trip and came out to Elgin to make sure they didn't do anything crazy, like move here. And, we didn't know the area. So, we didn't know how great it was then. But when we got here, we, had fun visiting the family. But my aunt said, you need to come see our opera house that we have in town. And I got a chuckle out of it. Like, I want to see Elgin's Opera House. And we came down here, and like you said, it had been closed. There was a little museum here at the time, and they opened the door for us. And I came in, outside it looked haunted and run down, but when I came in, inside was actually a well-preserved, colonial style playhouse. And I couldn't believe it. I thought, how is this out here? How did this building get here? And, why is it here? And, it really intrigued me. And at the time, I was, adjusting my career path. And, the lady who worked here said, they're looking for someone to come and take this place, take it over and do something worthwhile here. And, it just stuck with me. So I talked to my wife. I said, we should think about this. If we're ever going to do anything crazy like this, it's going to have to be now. We're not going to be able to do this when we retire. It would be impossible. So, we thought about it, and going just slightly into the long version of the story, I was working in marketing, and a friend of mine who had stage 4 breast cancer. Lived in Houston, and we consulted together. And I went back to Portland, and I called her about some other business matter. And I said, "Look, I've got this opportunity. It's crazy. There's this little opera house in northeastern Oregon, and they're looking for someone to take it over." I said, "I'm really seriously considering doing this, throwing caution to the wind, and I'm going to go there next week and talk to their city council." And she said, "Well, where is this? Where is this this town?" I said, "Well, it's a little town called Elgin. Northeast Oregon." She goes, "Okay, so when are you going to be there?" I said, "Well, I think it was Tuesday night was their council meeting. Next Tuesday." She said, "So you're going to be in Elgin, Oregon next Tuesday?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I'm going to be in Elgin, Oregon next Tuesday." She said, "My very best friend in the world lives in Elgin, Oregon, and every other year we get together, and next Tuesday is our night." And so I'm like, "Okay, let's have dinner." So I came out and had dinner with my friend from Houston in Elgin. We were at Sig's. We met at Sig's, and we had this, great prime rib dinner. And she said, "Let's go look at this theater." So we wandered over. She introduced me to Nancy Crawford, and we wandered over to the Opera House, and she got up on the stage and sang a few notes. And I said, "God, this is crazy." I said, "This is really crazy." And she looked at me, and she was a good friend. And she said, "Terry, take it from someone who knows how precious and short life can be. she said to me, you need to do this. You need to do this. And, so we did, we packed up, we bought a little house here because we definitely had to downsize our lives. Because we knew we were getting into a project. And we bought a little house out on Palmer Junction and, packed up the kids and came to Elgin and said, here we go. Let's see what happens. You only live once, right?
Wow. Yep. And so the city of Elgin, they own is that correct? They still own the Elgin Opera House?
They do. The building is owned by the city.
Okay. And then since then the Elgin Opera House has put together a committee, an organizational body, and they're operating it and kind of talk about, talk a little bit about your first show when you finally had something going. How did that go?
Well, there was a couple. It took me a year before I did any live theater. First, I had to learn how to run the 35 millimeter projector, and run movies, because that's all anyone wanted to do. Like, when are the movies coming? I'm like, I better figure this out. So I learned all about the movie industry. And I think we did movies for 3 years.
Wow.
Before I said enough of that. So that was an interesting experience. But in the meantime, I did. I started this. Basically, my current company funded everything at the beginning. Basically, I funded everything myself. And in the meantime, I started this nonprofit organization called Friends of the Opera House. We got some really, really great people from this area to serve with me. And, the first, I think, we brought some little shows in. We tried some little things. Eastern Oregon Regional Theater brought a show in. I worked with Ken and Denise Wheeler on a little production of A Christmas Carol, which was great. It was a great warm up, but I realized if we were ever going to be successful, we were going to have to do something big. And so I looked at the time. I said, hey, what is the biggest, most extravagant production I can do? And let's just see what happens. I mean, I already moved to Elgin and threw caution to the wind. Let's go for it. So at the time, it was Disney's Beauty and the Beast. It had just been released from Broadway. The rights were available. And I said, I'm going to produce this show. I'm going to see if people are going to come support it. And, I put the audition call out, and we probably had 70 or 80 people come audition for the show, which was a good sign. And we found some really talented people. Most of the people hadn't ever done theater before. So we spent 4 months working on this show. We went through several actors. There were some forces in town that were, I'm just going to be honest, that were somewhat opposed to what I was doing, and say, hey, he'll never be able to do this. This is not going to work. Don't work with him. It's impossible for him to do theater in Elgin. Anyway, we put the production together, and I booked it for 2 weekends, and we sold it out. The last performance I had, a crowd of people, down the stairs and around the corner on the sidewalk, and I had to send them away. I said, sorry, we can't fit one more human being in this building. And, I made all of my money back. I think the production was around $14,000, and I made it all back except for $200. So my first show ran a $200 loss. But we had met so many great people, and it really was the thing that helped me to know that we could do this out here, that there's potential in this area. And we went on to do, I think we're probably pushing our 50th main stage production now.
Wow. And that was going to be my next question, is how many shows, what mark are you at? And so the pre-COVID time, you guys, the plan was to do 4 shows a year. Is that correct? I'm trying to remember what kind of your goal was.
Yeah. We usually do 4 or 6 shows a year.
Yeah. And that's a humongous schedule. I mean, people have no idea what it takes to do a show, how complicated that is. Now, you'd had a background in theater. I mean, you didn't just jump into this not knowing. I mean, you knew some of the aspects of it, right?
Right. Yeah. I started theater as a young teen, and I actually started directing theater. I think my first show was 16, and then my first, 2-act musical was at probably pushing 17 or 18.
Wow.
So I was somewhat fearless, about the whole process at a young age. And then, working through college in the summers, I would always come back to the Portland area and direct a production. Some of the summers I made money doing it, which was great. Helped me get through college. And, all of my college electives were music, theater, dance related. So, I didn't come into this not knowing what the industry was about. I'd never run a theater though. I mean, I directed community theater, but, running an entire operation is a completely different ballgame. And I had to figure a lot of it out on my own, just by doing.
Yeah. And and you have brought your family. I've been at it almost 15 years now.
Right.
Your kids have grown up in the Elgin Opera House. I mean,
they have.
Yeah. Maddie is now in college. And
yeah.
I mean,
both Maddie and Abby, both
really.
My daughters.
So talk about your kids. And I mean, how many shows have they been in? And Maddie or Abby, I'm sorry, which one's the middle daughter?
Abby,
and she's a dance. What do they call that?
She's a choreographer, and she's done a ton of shows. I don't know. Talk about what influences that had on your kids over those years. Well, they really don't know what life is outside of this world, and I keep telling them, I said, I hope you'll look back someday and realize what an awesome thing this was for you when they get out into the world and realize that everyone doesn't own an opera house and people have real jobs and do real things. They'll have to look back and see that this was definitely a unique experience for them. But they do it because they love it, and that's what's important. If they didn't love it, I would encourage them to do other things, and they have. They've tried sports, they did school clubs. They didn't just do the opera house, but they always came back to the theater. It was something that kind of just became a part of their DNA. My son Joseph, Joey, he's the youngest. I mean, he was born here. He was born while we lived in Elgin, so he really doesn't know anything else. And he's interested in sports and other things, but he'll come and do a show. And he's a pretty good little actor. But I think that's probably been the biggest benefit of my job, is being able to bring my kids to work with me. I mean, most of the days were bring kids to work day, and you have to celebrate that.
Well, and along with them came this crew of other kids. I mean, and you and I have talked about that a little bit in the past. The influence that the Elgin Opera House has had on just kids that were children and teenagers, and now many of them are in college. I mean, that has been, I don't know. I was always amazed. I'm trying to remember one of the first shows I came out there was Annie, and there's just a ton of kids. And I mean, I've directed children's choirs before and everything. And it's always, kids will, when they sing, they'll just barely sing, and I remember the very first time I ever saw this show, and I mean, there were so many kids and they were singing. I mean, and it's like, I was just amazed at, number one, the number of them that were there, and that they had been coached so well and performed, and they knew, and man, what an incredible thing. I mean, I'm sure that's just, I mean, there are probably times you used to look back at that and go, that's phenomenal. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we have this wall that I created about a year and a half ago of just all the shows. I started pulling pictures of all the shows and putting them up on the wall. And I look at that sometimes, and I'm even amazed. I'm like, how did we ever do this? And I think there's a few things that have really surprised me, but one of them really has been the impact that this has on people's lives. I mean, on a real, just organic level. I mean, I have parents that will come to me after production, say, we don't know what you're doing here, but we've seen this tremendous change in our child's life. As a matter of fact, it's affected our whole family. I mean, the mood of our whole family has changed since they've started participating. And what I've realized is that there is a certain group of kids out there that haven't found a place to land. And having this theater arts program, for some of these kids has been the very thing that they needed. It's a place that they call home. It's where their friends are. It's where their people are, and it's where they find joy. And it's hard to imagine what some of these kids would have done without it. What their lives would have been like. They found their passion and their love, and some of our actors have gone on to try to do theater professionally, and they're making impacts in other communities. And it's really fun to see that. I love to see some of those kids that were in that first Annie. I mean, they're teaching right now. They become high school teachers or middle school teachers or grade school teachers, and the things that they learned in the theater, they're taking with them into their careers. And I think that's something. I think that's also something to be celebrated.
Well, and I think it's very similar to sports. It's a lot of those same things that similar. It's a lot of those things that kids learn when they're a part of a team, and they have to show up for practice even when they don't feel like it, and they learn to be committed to something. And I mean, those are just all really good things to learn as kids that serve them very well down the road. So
yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because I think that's one of the things that surprises some of the parents, particularly the dads, the most. We thought this was just a fun activity,
right?
Like an after-school play activity, and they realize that this is just like sports. It requires a tremendous amount of commitment. They're learned the physical demand, as you know, the physical demand of what we do. Most people don't understand. You should have seen this rehearsal we had last night with some of the boys that we're working with in this current production of High School Musical. I mean, it is demanding. Some of these kids are athletes, and it's challenging what we do. And it is a discipline. I mean, it's fun, and we have fun, and we play, and we make friends. But just like sports, we take it seriously, and we want to be the very best that we can be. We want to win in the art form.
Yeah. Well, so let me talk just a little bit about my experience with the Elgin Opera House. So it's been 4 or 5 years ago, and Michael Frazier was doing a play, and I'm friends with Michael, and he was directing a musical. And I mean, I literally went and auditioned for My Fair Lady, and I had never seen My Fair Lady. I had no idea what it even was about, and they handed me a script. I was late for the audition. I told Tanya, and so anyhow, it was very much a not thought out process at all. But it's like, yeah. And when I walked in, Mike said, "What are you doing here?" It's like, well, you're directing something. I thought maybe I would throw my hat in the ring, and then he called me and said a couple weeks later, "Hey, how serious are you about this?" Like, well, I got to come to all the rehearsals, so whatever you want to give me is fine, And so that's kind of how it morphed into me becoming Henry Higgins. And then I realized what a humongous role that was. And and I knew that it was at Elgin Opera House, but I literally had never stepped in the doors. I had never been in the building before. And and then that's when you and I met, because you were playing Colonel Pickering. Okay. Right. And Colonel Pickering is kind of like Henry Higgins' right-hand guy, and I didn't know you. I knew that you were I was intimidated because you were whatever it was that you are at the Elgin Opera House. Is like
I'm the artistic director.
Yeah. And so I hadn't done musical theater since college, and here I'm jumping back into it. And I got you and Ken Wheeler. And I remember the first time we read through the script in Michael Frazier's front room, and I was having troubles just reading the lines, and Ken Wheeler was doing it in full-on Cockney accent.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and so it was like I was intimidated to death, and then I really hadn't computed that. Oh yeah, we're probably going to be rehearsing 5 times a week, and I might have to drive to Elgin 5 times a week or whenever, how often that was, and so, but it was just this thing. And I mean, once I got there, I met the other cast members, and I realized that there was just this huge underbelly of support, and the crew. I mean, that cast is, I don't know how it compares to other casts, but it was, I think there were 20 or 30 people, and I realized that, oh yeah, there's a mom that's playing a part and the son is playing the part. I mean, there were whole families,
right,
that were involved. I mean, in that particular production, you and your 2 daughters both were in the musical, and so it's just this humongous operation that I was just fortunate enough to be a part of. And I mean, that's when I realized just how significant that was. And I mean, and that was one show of 50. You've done so many of those, and I mean, that's just
that was fun. That was a good one. We had a lot of fun in that show.
Yeah. Well, and I talk about, I mean, I'm, just frankly, it's got to be a really good musical for me to love going to musicals. I mean, I'm not, I wouldn't, I mean, I go to them and I like it, but it's nothing compared to actually being in them, because that's the team aspect. I mean, you meet people and you have lifelong friends that are there, and, that's the thing and it's very much like being a part of a sports team. It's just that family atmosphere. So yeah, it's very cool.
So I guess my question is, how are we going to get Dodsey into a show? How are we going to get him to come?
If you need a smart aleck, insatiably handsome big dude,
you've got good energy. You would be great on stage. You need to come do this.
Never have. No, I've never ever even thought about it.
Do it. You should just try it once. I will do it one time, and it'll change your life. You're like, this was so much fun.
So I would think about it.
My audience would love you. My audience would absolutely love you. Okay.
Yeah. What we could do is if you did a Star Wars, he could be the Wookiee, dude. I mean, he would.
One of my really good friends from high school, Rick Muggeridge. I mean, he's been in probably plenty of the plays out there.
He played the Beast in that first Beauty and the Beast.
We graduated
I'm
together.
the one who I pulled him. His son came to that first audition, and I knew his dad because I had him do a concert out at the Opera House that first year, in which I did some smaller things, and that was one of them. And I said, "Where's your dad?" He's like, "Well, he's at home." I go get him. Go get him and bring him down here. Will he end up being the lead in the show? That was the first time he did.
I'm only looking at my phone because I want to show you a picture. I want to show everybody a picture while we're talking about it. You're talking about his son.
All right.
That son?
Yeah, look at that. Yep.
Yeah.
Elijah.
Good kid, man. Yep. Very good kid. Good kid. People.
Yeah. Really good.
Well, so
people
the big question, Terry, is like, what happened to your hair? Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at there really is a story to this. And the last time we got together, I was telling you, that I have this heart condition, that just plagues me. And I was in St. Luke's again last October for a procedure, and my cardiologist is like, Terry, you got to make some changes. And one of the big ones is you're going to have to learn to lighten up. You're going to have to, I mean, you what you do is very stressful, and it is, as you know, you were talking about, you have to coordinate these giant productions, and the clock is always ticking down to a deadline. And so, one of the things I've decided to do is just lighten up. I'm really working on it. And when I was a teenager, I had the straightest, gangliest hair. I mean, it was just awful. And my mom had a friend that was a hairdresser, and she said, "I'm taking you down and giving you a perm." And it was the 80s. So, that's what we did. And I had so much fun with it. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it again. I'm going to perm my hair, and I'm going to it was kind of symbolic of me letting my hair down, really, and just having a lot more fun with what I do, and realizing that life is short, and we need to have more joy and more fun in our daily lives. And so, Brent, you should get a perm. I challenge you.
What's he gonna perm?
Maybe that glow. Maybe that would cover the glow.
He'll have a skullet perm. it'll be skull here and perm here.
Yeah,
it would be awesome.
It looked like a clown, is what it would look like. Yeah,
that's all right.
Was your perm in the 80s, Terry, a mullet? Was it a mullet perm?
It kind of grew into it. Nice. It evolved. It got longer, and there was a time. There was probably a couple months there where it was looking very mulletish.
My dad used to rock the mullet perm.
Yeah, it was big hair.
Yeah. Mullet perm. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, if you let that go out, you could look like Carrot Top a little bit. I mean, isn't his hair kind of? Yeah. Anyhow.
Yeah,
it is curly. His hair is curly.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, Terry, because I didn't see you. I mean, when we were in the show together, you were essentially the executive producer. You had to make sure that the show was going to make money, but you weren't really that stressed out. It was Michael that was under the pressure. It was, and so I guess I didn't see that side of you. I remember you and I looking at each other like, glad we're not in charge right now. Yeah.
I try to do a pretty good job of, cordoning off my stress. When I'm in a show, I really do try to have fun. But the producer is responsible for everything. You got to make sure the set gets painted. You got to make sure the set gets built. You got to make sure there's costumes. You got to make sure the lights get done. I mean, there's so much that happens during the day that the actors don't even see at night. I mean, it really is. I mean, I get up, I usually start working around 9 o'clock is when I get rolling. And then I work until probably 10 or 11 at night.
Yeah.
I'm doing a production. That's how, and I deal with every aspect of the production.
Wow.
And when I'm directing, I'm dealing with the artistic side of it as well. So, I mean, we're talking, the marketing, the advertising, the tickets, it is an operation like you can't imagine. The hardest job is to be my assistant. I have a hard time keeping assistants because they're like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. I mean, I'm like, I know. Thank you for helping. And after about a year, they're like, I'm out. This is hard.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of phrase, if I ever do anything on stage, I'm not singing. I sang in his choir my freshman year, and then I was like, nah, I'm done singing. I can't. I'm tone deaf. Like I love music, but there ain't no singing going on out of me.
All right. Well, we'll find some for you. You seriously, you got great stage presence. You got to do this.
I'll do it. I'll sign
He will, and he's loud. You wouldn't have to mic him, man. I'm telling you, he could fill the theater without. Yeah.
We'll find a good character role for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
So Terry, before we take off, tell us about the show that's coming up and when it is and so on and so forth. Give us some details.
All right. Well, this is us, rising out of the pandemic. I had to make some tough decisions this year. Do we even do anything? And I finally got to the point, like, we've got to do something. And Disney, in conjunction with Music Theater International, decided to create some special licensing rights for a few of their shows. And one of those shows was High School Musical. which is a show that, I grew up with my kids watching, on the Disney Channel. And we had so many fun memories with that. I'm like, let's do High School Musical. And they've released the junior version, which basically means they cut the show in half. So instead of a 2 hour and 10 minute show, it's roughly an hour and 10 minutes. And they're allowing us to film it, in stages, because they understand the restrictions that we're under. So we are producing this in small groups, little pieces at a time, and then we will film it and piece it all together. And then we will broadcast it. People will watch this production in their homes.
Oh, wow.
They'll buy a ticket and they'll stream it, from their homes, since we can't gather yet. And it's great. I was really, I don't know if anyone's going to do this. I put the audition call out, and we had 70 people audition for this little show. Wow. And I'm like, okay, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. And my leads, oh my gosh, this cast is phenomenal. And they're coming from 5 different counties. I think this show has the broadest geographical reach of any show I've done. I have leads. I have my lead, Anjanou. She is from Walla Walla. And we've got leads from Pendleton, Baker, Joseph and LeGrand, Cove, Union. I mean, it really is amazing how we're bringing this whole theater community together from the greater Eastern Oregon.
It's awesome.
Well, and are you still teaching theater over at Blue Mountain also?
I'm teaching online. Yeah, right now the campus is still closed. So I do my intro to theater class. They wanted me to teach an acting class online. I'm like, no, that's not fair. I mean, you can't. Yeah. As you know, you need to. That's such an interactive activity. Yeah. I just respectfully declined. But yeah, I'm still doing that. The show. Can I give you some details on some logistical? So tickets will be on sale soon. At elginoperahouse.com, and the show will actually stream starting April 22nd. Right now I have 3 productions, April 22nd through the 24th, and I'm hoping that it's successful, that I can expand it out, that we can do a few more, maybe another weekend. But I have no idea. I don't know if people are gonna support us or not. I'm hoping it'll be like the first Beauty and the Beast, that people will jump on and say, hey, look at it. It's not as fun as going to the theater, but we're going to support these guys for their hard work.
Well, and I mean, the cool thing right off is that you're not limited to 300 people. I mean,
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way they have the royalties, the licensing royalties for this, is they actually force us into their ticketing company, Music Theater International does, and they take the royalty right off the top. So the ticket, normally we have to pay in advance, and this time they skim their piece right off the top of the ticket, which is great, which is good. I mean, if let's get 1,000 people to buy tickets for this thing so we can stay in business.
Yeah. Well, and people that are not familiar with the theater, all of these shows have to be bought unless they're in public domain. So any Disney show, anything that is like, oh, that is so cool. I mean, that the company who owns that, they're extracting payment for that, and so even like My Fair Lady, a major show like that is, I mean, number one is they only hand out so many licenses per year to even have theaters do it, or regionally. Am I explaining that correctly? And so you might have a show that you want to do, and it might not even be available. And if it is, you're going to have to pay for it.
Right. Yeah. The licensing companies, not only do you have to pay for it, but I mean, there's strict rules about, what you can and can't do, I mean, it's an extensive contract that you have to follow when you do a show.
Yeah. Well,
and if there's a professional company doing it, most likely you're not going to be able to do it. They get the first crack at it.
Yeah. Well,
but we have to thank Disney. I mean, you got to hand it to them for letting us do this. They're trying to help us out here. Yeah. They normally would never ever let us do this, to film it and and broadcast it, it would be, a severe violation of contract to do that. So, I'm grateful for that. And I've got this cast of 70. You'll probably grow by the time we get up there. I need a bunch of adults to come in. That's another thing they did, just real quick. For those of you who know theater, in a junior production, usually your cast has to be 18 and under. And for the pandemic, they're allowing us to do all age casting. So I've got several adults in this show that are coming to take on some of the parts. So it's like it's very cinematic in the fact that, some Opera House favorites like Blake Rasmussen and Misty Hines are in it, and others. So we're excited to be able to show these actors off.
Cool.
Well, very cool, Terry. Thank you so much for coming on. And you're such a great friend and brother. I was telling Kyle beforehand that we spent way too much time in the dressing room together.
Yeah.
it was a legitimate time, but still it was, we got to know each other very well, and I just consider you a dear friend.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for what you've done out there. People have no idea the commitment that has required from you and your family. Your wife plays the drums, so she is often in the orchestra pit or orchestra balcony, wherever that might be. And so, you guys are you're all in all the time.
Yeah.
So, And
thank you.
I'm glad you're relaxing a little bit.
I'm working on it. Dodgy, get out here and
I will
do some theater.
And we'll know when you're relaxing because you'll have permed hair, and when your hair's straight, we'll know we're in trouble.
Yes, jump back.
All righty.
Okay.
Well, thanks a man. Thanks a bunch.
Everyone, hey, just real quick, everyone, make sure you keep an eye on our season. We do have an entire season planned.
Good.
We're not posting it all at once. Support our season sponsors: LeGrand Paint and Glass, Cosa Dental, Riverside Greens, Community Bank, and Elkhorn Media. We got to thank those guys. They just all renewed their season sponsorships, even though we're in a pandemic.
Elkhorn Media on our show.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know.
I'll let that go this time.
I tried to say it really fast. I tried to say it really fast.
Wow. Shameless.
Yeah. Well, and
I'm trying to get Brent to be a sponsor.
No, we
out.
I tell you, I still have the stuff in my bag. I've had it in the folder for a couple of years. We just need to hammer out. We want to be a sponsor, and you probably need help filming this thing coming up if you haven't got that figured out. But anyhow,
I've got some young kids helping with that, but we may be calling.
Okay. All righty. Well, hey.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen.
Yeah. Good to see you, Terry. That was fun.
Yeah. We get to rip through my stuff real fast.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for On This Day?
I am.
On this day in 1945, AP journalist took the now famous footage of 5 Marines and 1 corpsman raising the flag at Iwo Jima.
Really?
And then, in 1954, on this day, the first mass inoculation against polio was conducted.
What year was that?
1954.
Polio? Wow.
And then the number 1 song 30 years ago today was All the Man That I Need by Whitney Houston. 1991.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. And then my positive quote for the day. It's an unknown author, so I'm sure lots of people have said it. Never ask a person eating ice cream straight from the carton how they're doing.
Why is that?
There's a reason why they're eating ice cream straight from the carton, I would imagine.
All righty. Well, hey, look at that weather. That mountain's pretty. Yeah.
So beautiful.
But it is supposed to snow a little later on today.
So beautiful.
Yeah, it is. We're blessed.
Yeah, maybe we are going to get some snow. Maybe the weather kid's right.
Well,
I'm
sorry. Let's go back to that. Yeah, it looks a little.
Looks a little bit dark back there.
Yeah. Look at that.
Oh yeah, that's dark.
Yeah. So
that's dark. That was a beautiful shot. Go back to that shot for a second.
Okay.
That's awesome right there.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
Look at the flags.
I know.
It was zoomed in.
It was, yeah. And I had somebody request is like, well, hey, can on that, this is called a tour that this camera does. It just does it over and over again. And somebody said, well, hey, can we have it stop on the flags for a few minutes? So
yeah, gorgeous. Yep.
All righty, man. Well, here, let me get this queued up, our outro. And good day,
We're
man.
back on Thursday.
Yep.
Another long one today. Thanks for staying tuned in. We appreciate you, Eastern Oregon.
Yep. And we'll see you Thursday.